think our level of financial literacy is way different. We used to be, I'll call it filmmakers who had a business, and now I think we're business owners who provide film making services, because we really look at it from a business perspective and make sure that we're doing everything correctly there. You know, one of the biggest things I say to people is the money that comes in is not the money that you have. You have to put it through all of its filters to see what's at the bottom that you actually are, and then you can control that number by controlling everything that happens in the middle.
I think my biggest learnings have come when I've shared where things are at and been honest and open, and that's where I've been able to get the most help in trying to navigate everything on my own and fix it all by myself, and just lean on me and pull myself up by my bootstraps. I've learned to not do that.
I think one of our biggest strengths has always been that we use equipment way past its prime, and way after others have gone onto other platforms, we'll continue using something. But even then, there are other ways to continue using that, and we sometimes forget that. We want to buy the new shiny thing versus continuing to use what we already have and improving our craft as opposed to improving the gear.
On episode 433 of the podcast, we talk about how Johnny's video production company went from nearly shutting down to thriving by shifting from filmmakers with a business to business owners who provide filmmaking services. We also talk about why financial literacy, it's a big word or big phrase of words, why financial literacy and proper cash flow management are critical, even when you have plenty of clients and projects. And then finally, the importance of personal growth and joining communities to continue learning and developing both yourself and your business. Here we go. What is up, my friend? Hey, it's Ryan, and this is the Grow Your Video Business Show. I'm excited. So excited. If you're new here, I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm laughing because we had a retreat not too long ago with my mastermind, with the Studio Sherpas mastermind. And it's amazing and hilarious when people mimic me. And so people in my little ecosystem here like to pretend to do the podcast introduction and use my amazingly annoying voice or try. It's great. Anyway, I'm so flattered. I'm so happy that you're here. If you are brand new and you're like, what in the world is going on here? I've been running my own video production business for over 20 years. We've got a studio in Metro Detroit, and we work a lot with clients. We do a lot of brand films. We film stuff at our studio. We're trying to film more stuff at our production studio to be more efficient, save time, money, make more money, all of those things. But I love this education part of what I get to do, and bringing you alongside, sharing the things that I'm learning, the areas that I'm growing, where I see this industry going, where I'm headed in this industry. This has been a gift for me to be able to educate filmmakers, as well as, continue to run my production business. And sometimes having both things, it's like, but also it's super fulfilling as I get to meet people like you and run a mastermind of other video business owners. And I just got done texting our mastermind. We're meeting later today. And so having friendship with people in this work and being able to be a resource is really, really cool. So if you are in a space where you don't have community, you're not really sure what you need to do to go to the next level in your video business, then I want to invite you to this free workshop that I've hosted. It's called the 10X Filmmaker Workshop, and you can get access to it at studiosherpas.com/10X Filmmaker. And in this workshop, I'll link to it below, but in this workshop, I've kind of boiled down my last 20 years of running my business, the biggest things that I've learned, my biggest takeaways, and want you to have these things, want you to be able to fail faster in your own video business. So go grab that, watch that, apply the things in there. I promise you, if you bring a pencil and a notepad or you take notes, I'm certain that there will be some stuff that you take away from there that you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I need to start doing this. I need to stop doing that. So go do that. And while you're here, put on your listening ears. This is a fun episode. So let's get in it with Johnny. Here we go. What's up, friend? Hey, welcome to another episode of the show. Today with me is Johnny Mendez, who is the co-owner of Hen House Media. Johnny, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ryan. This is awesome. I've been listening and watching for quite a while, so it's really cool to be here.
I'm excited to have you. You're. Let's just get this out of the way here. You're an old guy like me. You've been doing video for like 2+ decades.
Yeah.
What the heck?
Yeah, and I think I'm actually,
You've lived to tell about it.
age-wise, I might actually be a little bit older than you. But yeah, 22 years in this game, and then overall in the industry, been in here for 30. So started out in film production, independent film production, broadcast television, and found my way to, hanging up my own shingle and so now myself and my business partner have been running this for 22 years.
And it's been super successful ever since the beginning, and you've just growth after growth. It's just been easy and fulfilling and all the things, right?
It's been an absolute rocket ship right from the beginning. I haven't had no marketing. Everything is just boom, off to the races, and I can't keep up with it all, and that's an absolute lie. It has been every single up and down you can imagine. And yeah, we've even hit that spot, which I hear other guests have talked about, and in the communities that we'll talk about later. But even we hit a spot where we were near the end of our business and had to figure out a way back. So yeah, we've done it all. We've done it all.
Yeah, I'm excited to dive more into that, just so I don't feel like I'm alone. What is the primary, like, what do you guys do today? Like, what kind of clients, what kind of work do you focus on?
Yeah, so we started out, when we started out, it was just me. I started the company, and it was a local commercial production house. So all those amazing, things like all those local spots, and it was my voiceover on all of them, and it was it was a lot of work, a lot of spots, constantly grinding at it and stuff, and but we were always fighting against things like television stations who could offer production for free, things like that. And I kept talking to my business partner at the time. We were good friends, and finally he joined up and said, we got to make a shift. And we ended up going into corporate video. So right out of the gate, just started working with some amazing local companies, creating things like brand films and, event productions and all sorts of things. And that's kind of where we've stayed. We've found sort of our pocket in terms of we're a little bit more of like a documentary style corporate production house, and big storytellers, and we just get to work with some really cool clients every single day, and we've grown from there in terms of the types of clients we work with, and also not just locally, but we have clients who are national. We've gotten to travel internationally, the whole nine. So it's been a fun ride.
That's cool. Because I'm in the Detroit area, when people say international to me, I just laugh because for me, it's like literally 45 minutes I can be in Canada. Yeah. And so when we hosted our first in-person event for filmmakers, the very first one, I got to call it after that. I got to call it like an international audience because I had like one person from Canada who did not need to travel very far to get to us. So anyway, that's kind of fun. That's awesome. What, as you look at the future of your business, what's getting you guys excited? Like, what are you trying to build, 5 years from now, or what's the goal here?
Yeah. So, we have clarity now, which we didn't have before. And we keep going towards that. And one of the big things that we've, picked on is this idea of you can't serve everybody. You have to really find where you belong and chase that, kind of niche down, niche down, and now I'm saying it.
Yes, and
niche down, and kind of and go all in on that. And so that's kind of where we're at, is really discovering like these are the places where we've done the best, where we've done our best work, where we've had the most effective productions in terms of like the results. It's these, let's say, 4 things, and once you sort of determine that, then like there's like all these like opportunities and just these ideas just pop up. And so that's where we're at right now. Is really kind of honing in on those things and focusing completely on that. And we also decided to play a little bit too. So we created a podcast, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later. But I think that's the big part of it, is with production, The very first website that we put out for Hen House, I think, had something like 63 different services, everything from animation to motion graphics to, I think I even said we could do, I don't know. It was everything you could imagine that was related to video production was on this list. It was like 5 columns deep. And, you have to get away from that and you have to really focus in. So that's where we're at. And I am stoked.
And what about like size of the team? Like when you envision your business humming along and doing exactly what you want it to do, whether that's 3 or 5 or 10 years from now, what does that actually look like?
Oof, man, that's a great question. And the reason I sort of pause a little bit is that it's easy to sort of throw out we're going to have a studio and we're going to have, this many employees and all that. But we were there. Once upon a time, we had an amazing team, a whole crew. We had a great studio, projects of all kinds going. And we want to be really kind of cautious about how we approach the next stages and not do anything too soon, or try to do something too big too soon, and really kind of grow into it more organically. I think to start, like if we look at the target sort of a little closer to us, I think for us it's going to be a lot of finding editors and finding shooters who can help us along the way, but not necessarily full-time employees at the moment. But as we grow and really get into these niche products and see some growth in those areas, then we'll have some debates and discuss, like, do we want, the dream is always this beautiful studio space. I always, the name of our company is Hen House Media, so I always envision this beautiful barn, this huge barn where you walk in and there's just like different, between production and creator spaces and podcast rooms and all these things, and everything is happening all the time. The realities are, we're in Vermont, which is say a small market, you know what I mean? And so you have to sort of temper where you want to grow in terms of what's the reality of where you are at the moment, and then sort of build to that. And you can always grow it, beyond that, and gain more clientele, invite people in. But we want to be really, really cautious about how we do it. 10 years from now, I'd love to have that barn built and, have a massive studio. I want to be a place where people come to create, whatever that happens to be, not just a corporate video, but whatever it is that maybe they're dreaming of doing, a podcast or something like that. So, but we want to get there one step at a time. And that's what was missing before.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Let's rewind. And what was the moment as you were growing and scaling and doing all this stuff? What was the moment where you realized maybe you didn't do it the right way? What happened?
Yeah, you're gonna take me there. It's funny because I've been listening to your podcast for a while, and you mentioned when you and your friends had moved, and your wife and the friend families had moved to the Detroit area, and there was that moment around the table. Yeah, it's a great episode. And you were very open about that moment and what it meant to you and how that kind of defined who you were going to be after that point. And for us, that was, it was December of 2017. So, 7 years ago, this year will be our 8th year of that anniversary. And we always point to that anniversary. It has a special place in our heart. But that particular year actually was an incredible one. That was a year, like, we got to film in Switzerland. We got to, the projects, we were traveling all over the country. We were doing some amazing projects. We had a team, I forget how many we had full time at the time, and we had a bunch of interns as well that had joined us and were there for multiple semesters with us. It was just an amazing, like, the culture was great, all that. It was just, it was running really, really well. About maybe 2.5 weeks before Christmas of that year, my phone rang, and it was our bookkeeper. And anytime your phone rings and you see your bookkeeper's name on it, you sort of like, oh, what's going on, right? Our bookkeeper is great, by the way. She's amazing. Still with us. But she was calling, and she delivered the news that we were basically out of money. And payroll, this was on a Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, and payroll was that Friday. We had almost enough to cover payroll, but it was going to be tight. And we had a ton of just our standard bills that were, we had to pay. And that moment, when you're sitting in that moment and you're sitting there, and we had an open space, so I didn't have like some kind of corner office or anything like that. We had a pit, and we were all there, and I was the little corner desk, and I was sitting there on the phone with like, and then I had to hang up, and I looked around. It's like, all right, guys, I'm gonna just go outside for a second in the middle of winter in Vermont, and I had to tell my business partner what I had just received, that news, and I had to face him to tell him that news. So I mean, I was shaking. Those calls are hard to take. I never ever want to receive one of those again. I remember exactly what was going on with my body. I was getting nauseous. My hands were shaking. I was nervous as heck, anxious, the whole nine, very stressed. And then told my business partner, and you could just see, like, he just started getting, like, it was just, you could just see it in him. And so the employees went home that night, and we had to very quickly start to figure out what was going on. And our bookkeeper, we were very fortunate because she set up a meeting with us that night. And when we showed up, she was prepared. She knew the condition we were going to be in when we walked into that room. This was not going to be our typical happy-go-lucky selves that she was going to encounter. This was going to be, some rock bottom kind of emotions here. And but she was prepared. She had ideas for us and had a plan to get us through the fog. And we were so fortunate to have her in that moment, because I think that was the thing that really made us aware that we could come out on the other side as a first blush, But yeah, that day, that was it. And I had to then go home and tell my family. So, like you, husband, I have a daughter, we have a house here in Vermont. And that's a tough deal to have to tell your wife that this is what's going on, and this could be the end of the company. And I didn't know what to expect from her. And I chose not to hide it from my daughter either. She was much younger at the time. I mean, she was little, and didn't hide it from her. And they hugged me, and it was this moment of just realizing, like, okay, things are going to be okay either way. And then we decided, we said, when you get to a place like that, and I think there might be people out there who are at that point right now, or maybe don't completely believe that they're at that point yet. They're kind of hiding it a little bit. But when it hits, you're gonna get angry. You're gonna get stressed beyond belief. You're gonna throw up. And then then you got to make a decision, right? You got to decide, like, am I just gonna, all right, I'm just gonna curl up in the corner, tell me what papers I got to sign, and and then it's over, or you're gonna say, all right, let's figure this out. And we chose to fight it out, and that was a great decision. But we had to then put in some real work after that.
Just like imagining those conversations, and I've had similar conversations. I don't think that there's been a handful of times where I'm like, is this the end of the business? Yeah. And ours, the second time it happened once in 2012, where I was like, oh my gosh. And then 2016, this is the conversation that you're kind of alluding to, that I had with my team and my friends and family. And I just remember, like, just feeling like this is not, this is not fun. But also not, I think my biggest learnings have come when I've shared where things are at and been honest and open. And that's where I've been able to get the most help in trying to navigate everything on my own and fix it all by myself, and, just lean on me and pull myself up by my bootstraps. I've learned to not do that. That's much better. I was a praying man before my business. But I think having a business, if you're ever wondering, man, I wish I was just like closer to God, and I wish I had a better prayer life. If that's ever crossed your mind, you should just start a business. Start a business. That'll really help. But yeah, my dependency on myself, I think, lessened, and my people and my faith. I think there was just a greater reliance on, and then also understanding what's the worst that can happen in all of this if my business did end. If like somebody just came today and said, like, dude, you're, $1 million in debt, you got, all this stuff, you're gonna have to shut it down. What's the worst that'll happen? Like, and I don't think it's as bad as we ever think. We have these pictures or images of things. It's like, oh my gosh, this is the worst. It's like, yeah, what is
yeah,
that?
it's our pride, right? It's that it's an ego hit. And so we've done this thing, we've put ourselves out there. You've got family and friends who are like, oh, they run a business, and they immediately sort of get these ideas of who you are, at least in your mind. They do. They're never thinking about you really in that way anyway. They've got their own lives to worry about, but we fill our heads with the things that we think other people are thinking about us, right? And so when it happens, it's a shot to the gut, and we're just laying there like, oh, I got to face everybody. And you're right. Yeah. They're right. Because the moment that we were, I would say, when we found our courage to reach out, we found ourselves with a community of people just absolutely ready to help. I mean, we reached out far and wide. And it's amazing the people that just came out in full force. Like, we had a guy sharing his accountant, down in the Atlanta region. They were we sent them our books. They're like, oh yeah, you guys just, if you switch, change these, like literally they were starting to come up with little game plans for us. And on the production side, clients, the whole nine. But we had to get out of that whole silo we were in and face it and share. And people came, man. And it's, we had spent all this time. I was telling my wife the other day, I was like, yeah, I think the biggest lesson is that, because we believe in our business, we want to do a lot of good. You know what I mean? We believe in community. We want to have a lot of impact in community. We love working with nonprofits when there's a really great mission behind it. And you realize that after all those years, like, the good that you put out is the good that does come back to you when you need it most. You know what I mean? And that's what happened for us. So now I want to kind of double down on that idea of community and helping and being a part of that. So 7 years later, we're finally ready for that.
Yeah. And the fact that you're sharing your story and where you're at, I think all of that is so helpful. And I want to say honorable, but the next thing I'm going to say is going to make it sound like I'm tooting my own horn. But I will say in 2018, so it was 2 years after one of these, the second lowest moment in my business career, that I launched this brand. And it has been so therapeutic for me to share the worst times, the biggest struggles, my biggest mistakes in this business. And I know that it has helped people. I mean, I've had countless people tell me, like, dude, thank you for sharing. I don't feel all by myself, and I don't understand the numbers, and I don't understand margin and all of these things. And now my bookkeeper's telling me, like, this doesn't look good. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I heard Ryan, and he's still around. So, there's hope, I guess. So I appreciate the fact that you guys are feeling confident in the, just the sharing of your journey. So we do appreciate that. I'm curious, with the conversation that your accountant or your CPA or whatever had brought to you, was there, and this is really for us to think through our own businesses, are we paying attention to the things that we need to be paying attention to? Was there a big takeaway of like, oh my gosh, she said, yeah, if you guys would have just done this, you'd have been okay? Or what was the big oversight?
It's a funny question, because I think we knew all along what was going on, but we had so much business going on that, we allowed certain things to And I use that's a strong word, that we allowed things to happen, because yeah, I mean the decisions
Yeah.
begin and end with us. And we were buying all sorts of gear, and this project comes in, let's buy the gear, that justifies that, let's do it. And it was the way we were managing our cash flow. And there's only so fat, you turn that spigot on a certain way and you get complacent with that. It was like, oh, that's it's cool, the next projects will come in, and and then we'll shore it up, and you just keep kind of chasing gear, and just mismanaging the dollars. That's the biggest takeaway.
Yeah.
Is the financial literacy of having that real good foundation of, when a dollar comes in, where does every penny of that dollar go, and making sure that you're controlling that. And it's a vastly different company today than it was then. I can tell you that. And it's funny because I will now often, I know there's something that we need, and I'll put it in the shopping cart, and I'll let it sit there for 3 or 4 days. And sometimes I forget to even buy it, or sometimes I'll go back and like the price has gone up or something. It's like, well, I'll just wait for another sale, and then I walk away. Eventually, it's like, all right, I will buy it now. But I used to be sort of the trigger finger of like, gotta buy it, gotta buy it, gotta buy it, gotta buy it. Oh, might as well get 2 of those. And there's a lot of that kind of stuff, just mismanaging, and also mismanaging. That goes hand in hand with mismanaging the assets that you currently have. So not just the financial assets, which is a whole nother sort of educational piece, but even the equipment that you have. We've always been good. I think one of our biggest strengths has always been that we use equipment way past its prime. And, way after others have gone on to other platforms, we'll continue using something. But even then, there are other ways to continue using that. And we sometimes forget that. We want to buy the new shiny thing versus continuing to use what we already have and perfect, improving our craft as opposed to improving the gear. So it's a lot of those things, and those are the lessons that stay with me, and those are the things that I want to now start sharing with people.
Would you say, today, are you guys meeting with your bookkeeper regularly to stay on top of your P&L and just where finances are at?
Yeah. Not a lot of necessary regular meetings. We text a lot. We have a lot of text messages with her, emails and things like that. We don't tend to have necessarily face-to-face meetings, but we go into our QuickBooks often, and are constantly looking at like, where are our sales at for this quarter? Let's take a look at our expenses. But I also manage, I have an entire spreadsheet, like a little dashboard that I've created, where you can sort of see everything month to month, exactly where, how many subscriptions do we have? Do we really need that subscription every month, or is it just like we need it every now and again? So I get to see where all of those dollars are going, and then we can always print out our reports at QuickBooks. We're just not avoiding QuickBooks now. We're actually going into it and taking a look.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I mean. I've been doing this a long time. I've been in the education space for a long time, and this is like, one of the top. It's either the top one or in the top 3 of frustrations in a lot. I mean, like finances and understanding what is P&L, what is profit, profit and loss, and I'm afraid of QuickBooks and all the things. So let me just hire somebody to do it, take care of it, or not hire, and I'll carry the stress of all of that. Oh man, it's amazing. Even just learning a little bit how that can help you and it can serve you, versus like, being scared of what you don't really know, which is not really helpful. And certainly a good percentage of people that listen to the show have had similar experiences, and just haven't, because they didn't have a business before, not really sure what to do, where to go, how to figure this out. And I'll just say, the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. I've had Mike on the show before. Johnny's given a thumbs up if you're not watching, so I think he approves this message. Read or listen to that book. It's like one of the simplest ways to approach your finances for your business, and it is a way to make sure that you have money for taxes, that you also have money to pay yourself when there's profit, and it's a way to protect yourself, and it's not overcomplicated. It's a very easy approach. So check out that book, Profit First. You can listen to the episode. Just search Mike Michalowicz. Have fun figuring out how to spell his last name. But I highly recommend that. And then one thing that we've done recently is we've been banking at our local bank for the longest time. But I just started an account on Relay. I don't know if you're familiar with
heard of it.
Relay,
Yeah,
but
I've heard of it.
Relay is a bank that is Profit First approved or certified or something like that. And you can easily create from your computer multiple accounts, checking accounts, savings accounts, and move money around and practice the things that Mike lays out in Profit First. I stinking love it. It is amazing. And I've been able to get debit cards out to my team. I can put spending limits on it. This is not a commercial for Relay, but it is an awesome tool that I've really been enjoying.
That's awesome. I should mention another book too, because you mentioned Profit First, and that book has been a huge part of sort of our re-entry into business, if you will.
Yeah.
Managing by Numbers is another one. It's a short read, and it was written by two accountants, and they just make it so clear. So clear. So Managing by Numbers, I wish I had it in front of me to mention the author's name, but it's a great book. Highly recommend that one as well.
I will actually check that one out because you said it's short.
Yeah, no, I always need
any book that's about math or numbers or all that stuff.
Make it short and tell me a story.
Oh,
yeah,
it's short.
They tell stories in it, which is great.
Yeah,
so
exactly. I'm down for that. So what's the biggest takeaway for yourself, or the biggest encouragement, the thing that you have learned over the last 7 years of pivoting your business, being at a very, very low spot to today? What's the biggest difference between now and then?
There's a couple of things. One is I think our level of financial literacy is way different. We used to be, I'll call it filmmakers who had a business, and now I think we're business owners who provide filmmaking services, if that makes sense. Because we really look at it from a business perspective and make sure that we're doing everything correctly there. One of the biggest things I say to people is the money that comes in is not the money that you have. You have to put it through all of its filters to see what's at the bottom that you actually are, and then you can control that number by controlling everything that happens in the middle. Profit First, I think, helps with that in terms of making sure that you're at the top of that funnel for who gets the money. But I think the biggest thing is really, and this was the hard part. So the reason I say it's 7 years later is what it took to get here is because it's been a journey, a very, very personal one, where you have to really look in the mirror and say, who am I? What am I? What is important to me, and where do I want to be? And what have I been chasing, and why? All those kinds of questions kind of lead to some of the work that you're going to be doing to get yourself, because you can't. There's a great quote. There's a guy, Jim Rohn, who has a quote that says, "You don't achieve your goals, you grow into them." And that is something that I want to just have printed on my wall, because it's so true. A lot of times we set goals and say, all right, these are the things we have to do to get them. But if we're not personally ready for that, we have to get ourselves ready. And so I spent a lot of time over the last 7 years really diving into a lot of personal development stuff and personal growth, and following a bunch of people on that end, working on mindset, even health, going to the gym, nutrition, all that kind of stuff. And the last 2 years specifically have been my biggest growth moments, which is why now is when we're finally ready to really get into, really getting our company to where it needs to be, and also launching our new initiative as well. And so that's the biggest thing. I think you can never stop learning. And that's everything from who you are as a person, really making sure that you're growing into better and better every single day, be the better version of yourself every day, so you can actually believe that you can achieve the things you want. And then the other thing is to never stop learning your craft either. you can't just read a book of cinematography. If you want to be a better cinematographer, you got to go shoot. You got to schedule your time. Well, if you're going to schedule your time, then you got to make sure that you're, you know, being good about how you're handling your time and your energy and not squandering it. You know, it's like we have such a, you know, the gray hairs, we don't have a long time, right? We have to make it all happen within whatever time we have. So I think there was a day that you just wake up and you don't want to waste time anymore, you know? And you want to be smart about stuff and know what's really important. For me, what's really important is family, right? My family is like the center of my universe, and everything I'm doing now is in service of them. I want to spend more time with them. I want to be present. I think before you know, I guess the stock market would have their crashes, right? And before the hen house crash, I was working nonstop all the time, late into the night, you know, and I was not present. You know, I wasn't really present, and I needed to change that. And now I'm just like, now maybe I'm too present. We should talk to my wife. Am I too present? Because sometimes she'll say, "Hey, get back to your office," you know.
Yeah, my wife says that too.
But no, you know, being present for family, and the way you do that is to make sure that you have those, you know, those categories, separate things and make the most of the time when you're working on your business. Make sure you're actually working on your business, not busy, the busy work. So I had to grow as a person, and that's been important for me. And now I'm growing more. I've joined communities, and that growth continues, both communities on the business side, the craft, but also on the personal growth side. And it's been awesome. It's been really great.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. I think investing in yourself you're going to get the best ROI on that.
Indeed.
And, you know, 20 years ago, I never used the acronym ROI. I didn't know what that meant. Return on investment. So I sound a lot smarter than I probably am. But investing in yourself, with people, communities, you know, books, trainings, coaches, like all of that stuff. It's like, you know, listening to you articulate, you know, where you're at versus where you were at 7 years ago. You know, we don't need to go into numbers at all, like revenue for the business, but I would imagine that as you've been developing yourself, your revenues have sort of followed that journey, and the freedom that you have desired for your life has probably followed as well.
And, you know, the stresses are different. They're not what they were before. It's, you know, I don't stress about those things anymore, because I know even when it's a down year, it's okay. There is no fear, because we've been managing things the right way. It's a really amazing, it's an amazing place to be. And it gives you so much freedom. And I got to say, the scariest thing that you can do is, you know, I'll date myself here, is cut that check for, you know, for development or training or, you know, joining a community. Because, you know, if you're in a certain spot financially, you're looking at like, oh, that's expensive. You know, that word expensive keeps popping up, but it's not. It's that investment is going to really pay off in the long run. And, you know, I mean, full transparency, I joined 10X Filmmaker recently, and it's amazing to be part of that, being part of that community, but then also just, I get to learn, you know, the stuff that you've done. We've been in business for around the same amount of time, and it's great to see how you've approached things, you know, so just being open to that, like, yeah, it's cool. You know, Ryan went through this too, and he's at this place over here, you know, he's got this amazing educational side of his business. He's got a great studio. There are things for us to learn from. So you got to be open to that stuff, and just, you know, let the pride go, and just, you know, have fun with it, and be part of the conversation. You know what I mean? Like, go hang out with people. So yeah, it's been great.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
I wrote, when we were talking earlier, just some things you're saying, some phrases I was writing down. Always learning, growing, yourself, your business. Our core values at Tell Studios are humble, hungry, and heart. And you embody those. I mean, you are humble to share your story, the struggle, the journey, knowing that you haven't arrived yet, that there's always areas in our lives where we can grow, business and personal. And and that you're getting after it, right? You've got, you're actively surrounding yourself with people that can help sharpen you, and having the humility to receive what other people have. Even if it's like, yeah, I wouldn't do that. There's always still something that we can walk away with.
Indeed.
But it's like being open-minded to that and say, like, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from, the severe struggle that I've had? It's like, man, my biggest lessons, this show would probably be garbage if everything I talked about was the things that we did well.
Right.
It's I think, lasted 400 plus episodes because I share so many mistakes and things that I wish I would have done differently. And would I change them now, go back and change them? No, because it's made me who I am, and I'm stronger and wiser because of it. And I've been able to help a lot of people because of it. But, to just know that, yeah, I'm a work in progress. I got plenty more to learn, but I want to fail kind of in public, and share what I know and where I'm at, because I know it can be really, really helpful and freeing.
Yeah,
for other people.
there are hidden blessings in all the things that we go through, and what's that saying? Like the fairy tales, rarely begin or end in the dark forest, right? They start in a happy place, they make it to the dark forest, and they have to get through that, and then there's the happy ending at the end. And you have to go through that, I think, to kind of grow into who you're going to be.
Yeah.
That's important. And just be curious and just keep asking a lot of questions, and just keep going, man. Just keep growing. Keep growing.
That's so good. You mentioned your new initiative. Did you mention that? Did I miss?
I haven't mentioned it yet. No, we've been talking about this for a really long time, and I think I don't know that we were necessarily ready, because we hadn't gotten to the place we needed to be, but now we are. And so we just launched a whole new podcast where we're telling our story and how it relates to certain lessons about things you might be going through. And it touches on a lot of the things that we had to work on for ourselves, things like mindset, things like culture and mission, and who do you want to work with, and who don't you want to work with? Money. So everything about, some of the financial literacy side, and then like really setting yourself up to actually accomplish things. I think the idea of goal setting is a tricky one, because I think a lot of us have, the notepads with massive goals and all that kind of stuff. And it's not really a goal. It's about, it's a lot of the habits and the things, and how do you get to that place? And I think sometimes we have to reverse how we achieve certain things. So, and these are all sort of based on what we went through over the last, 7 years or so, and even before, so going back in time of really finding some of those moments where we had to make a decision, and how that decision there kind of impacted what happened, December of 2017. So we went deep, man. We went and found the stories and connected them all to where we ended up, and how we're going to learn from them and grow from here. And I think back to, everything we went through, and even that moment when the pandemic hit, we actually were fairly calm during that time, because we said, all right, this is where we're at. We're in lockdown. So what do we do? And we actually made it through that era just by switching things up and doing some pivots, and made it through. And it's because we had already kind of started learning from some of those lessons of what business actually entails, the ups and downs, and you got to be ready to change and pivot and evolve. And that's what this is about. So, yeah. So the YouTube channel, we just launched it. It's called The Great Reframe. And there's the first show that's on it is it okay to swear on this show?
I think so.
Yeah, you can bleep it out.
But go for it.
It's called Reframe: How Not to Your Business. And it's all based on all of our story. And actually, our first episode is the story of what happened that year. And then we're just going to go from there. And we've got our website up and everything. So yeah, we're super excited about it, because it's just been a lot of fun to kind of share these stories and just try to help people. Wherever they're at, let's try to help people. So
that's very fun. That's exciting. Well, good luck with that. Dude, this has been fun. I really appreciate you just digging in and being open about where you're at. And I'll just say this too, like, I'll say this for you because it's sort of like my same thing. Like, I share from a place of maybe I seem more confident than I should be, but it's also a place of humility, knowing that I do not have this thing figured out. I've figured out a lot, but the things I've learned today, I might be doing the exact opposite because 10 years ago I thought that was the way. So it's this like ongoing, ever evolving thing. And so as you listen to Johnny's story, take what's good and apply it to you, and just know that he's not saying like, hey, this is the way for everyone. This is the way for us. Yeah. And this is what's been helpful. And me too. It's like, I'm sharing my perspective, my experience, what's worked, what hasn't. And, do I have it all figured out? Nope. But might some of my story help somebody else? Yep. Otherwise I wouldn't be doing the show. That's a lot of time, invested to hope that, what I'm saying is resonating with, anybody. So appreciate you sharing all that Indeed. You have. What's like best place to follow? Obviously you got the YouTube channel. If anybody's interested in checking out your work or getting in touch, what's the best way to do that?
So our website for our company is henhousemedia.com, and it's at Henhouse Media on all the social platforms. And our YouTube channel is The Great Reframe, and it's thegreatreframe.com. So we'd love to have people check it out and come say hello. And I got to say before we go, keep doing what you're doing, Ryan, because you are helping people. And I see it now that I'm in the 10X filmmaker and I see the people and what they're posting. I see the help that's happening to them and why they were drawn to it. And it's helped me. Like, the stuff that I've learned just, and sometimes it's just verifying a thought that you have, but I see it and I've connected with that stuff. So keep doing what you're doing because it's helped a lot of people and it's going to continue to. So, and I love that idea of, as you're helping others, you're also learning because you're learning from them as well. And so it just we just keep growing each other as a community. So it's great.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I don't take that lightly. Grateful for that. Those words. Speaking of words, how do you want to leave us today?
No matter how dark it might seem at the moment, if you're somebody who's in a really tight bind, and I think this year is one that is really challenging a lot of filmmakers and video pros, everything from AI to, what's happening, whether it's the economy or whatever it is, the industry changing, all that stuff. It's been a challenging time. Never stop learning, never be afraid to change and evolve. And most importantly, reach out and, speak to others, keep learning and be curious, ask a lot of questions, become a part of a community of other like-minded creatives, other filmmakers. And that's where some really great things are going to happen for you.
My friend, thank you. This has been fun to hang out. Appreciate you, and excited for this next chapter.
We are as well. Thanks, man. And thanks for having us on. I love the show, and it's been an honor to be on here with you, man. Okay, friend, you made it this far. Good job. Not many people make it to this part of podcast episodes. You're in the unique few. If you liked this episode, let me know. You can leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube. You could also shoot me an email. My email address is Ryan, RYAN, @studiosherpas.com. And wow, as I'm sitting here recording this, we're at the end of the first quarter. So as you're listening to this, we're probably into the second quarter. Oh my goodness. Where are you at in your business? How are things going? Do you have goals for this year? Are you trending toward accomplishing those goals? Are they measurable goals? Are they things that you're like, yep, when I achieve that, I'll be able to mark it done because it's very clear what it is? Or are they more like, what's the word? Not super defined. How about that? We'll go with those words. I would encourage you to really make some defined goals and know, like, man, you've only got 3 quarters left in this year to accomplish these yearly goals. And if you need help getting your goals done, staying focused, I hire a coach. I'm in a mastermind. I pay a lot of money to do these things, to be able to invest in myself. I would encourage you, consider that. I'm happy to coach you. I'm happy to have you consider joining our mastermind and to apply for that, or to apply for one-on-one coaching, or to get into the 10X filmmaker community. But
doing this on your own. You don't have to. Also, you're not the only one going through the stuff that you're going through. So just know that there are other people that have gone through the stuff that you can learn from. And if I can be a resource, amazing. If I can point you in the right direction, would love to be able to do that. So thanks for being here. Have an amazing rest of your day. Make it great. That's what I always tell my kids when I either walk them to school or drop them off. So much love to you, and we'll talk to you really soon. See ya.